Fk8 TD, guys. So the build's coming along. I don't have cams in it. There's a reason for that. I'll get into that on another video. But we're getting there, and hopefully next week I'll have all the pieces I need to complete the build. But I wanted to show you guys a little something unique and special that I'm doing. So TurboSmart makes an oil pressure regulator. And one of the reasons that I bring this up is because on the previous turbo, the bearings went bad. Now, I never exceeded the limit of the turbo itself based upon Garrett's specs. So I can only presume that due to the restrictor, okay, it didn't get enough oil pressure. Now, what do I mean? Well, the restrictor maybe at wide open throttle had oil pressure, but at wide open throttle, when you let off, okay, your oil pressure on these cars can drop as low as 20, 25 pounds at idle, but then you take a restrictor on top of that, and you're going to end up with like 5 or 10 PSI and not a lot of flow. So, TurboSmart makes an oil pressure regulator that's set to 40 pounds of pressure. It also has a NPT port for a gauge, which I will be using to verify the pressure. Now, I'm not sure if this is the final mounting location where I'm having this, but that's where I put it. And there's my oil cooler. Now, why do I have that hooked to an oil cooler? Well, instead of having the return just go straight back to the pan that you would normally do with the TurboSmart regulator, what I'm doing is I'm sending the return through an oil cooler and then back to the pan. See, normally when you put an oil cooler on a car, due to the sandwich plate and the size of the lines and everything else, and the fact that you're doing that before the oil enters the main chambers of the motor, you lose some pressure in the motor. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this after it comes out of the chambers in the motor. So what do I mean by chambers? See, this is actually, this lump right here, this is actually an oil galley, and there's a cap back here. And this is a vertical oil galley, and you can see the turbo feed here. What I'm doing is oil is naturally going to come out of here in the 4AN fitting. And because in the factory it has this size, it's not like we're going to lose any pressure to begin with. So this is actually so any oil gets fed everywhere it needs to first in the engine, and not like when you put a sandwich plate here. It goes into the sandwich plate, and then the sandwich plate goes elsewhere, and then you're dealing with pressure before it even makes it into the motor. Because when you add an oil cooler, you do have resistance, restriction. And please excuse the very poor silicone job. Instead of just leaving that little spoon, I put my hand on it and I made it look like crap. It was good at one point. Like this one, I left alone, and look at that. Anyway. So basically, because I'm only doing it after the oil exits the primary chambers in the motor, the oil galleys, which is the technical term, oil galleys, I'm not going to get those pressure losses, but I'm still going to have the effect of oil cooling. But there's one thing, it won't do it at like idle. So one of the nice things about that is that it won't cool the oil at idle. So if in the winter you want to warm up the car, it won't actually cool the oil right away, because you're not going to have over 40 PSI at idle. I mean, maybe you will a little bit, but it's not that drastic. So basically, what would have been excess is now used to be cooled. And here you can see this is actually going to be the fitting. I'm not sure which way this is going to face, because there's the AC compressors down here. I may face this the other way and turn the TurboSmart blow-off valve. I don't know yet. Those are all things I'm going to have to tackle when it's in there. And also, though, keep in mind, I moved my radiator. Well, I showed you this, but let me show you guys something to give you an idea of how much room you lose. Because the radiator support on these cars. I'm going to just put that right there, and this is where it would have sat. So this gives you an idea how much room you lose to the radiator supports. Now, this is as far forward as it will. Well, I could go further forward, but keeping in the stock pins in the bottom, that's as far forward as I could go. I mean, if I did like a custom radiator, I could go further back, but also I still have the condenser in here, and the condenser is as close as I can get it to the intercooler down there. It's literally like, I can barely squeeze my fingers in there to put the bolts on. So it's really tight down there. I mean, I could get it further forward, but I'm not doing that. But you can see, so all the turbos that come close to the radiator support, you know, easy solution, man. Get rid of it. So I did do the aero catch hood latches. I did that because I don't have a hood latch anymore. So the other thing is, with the hood latch, I will have to set the wires up here somewhere and keep it out of the way, and either trick the sensor or, you know, something of that nature. And I do have locks on the aero catch. Sorry if I'm messing up the video, moving it around. Let me see so you can get that nice shot of that oil cooler. So believe it or not, this was an Amazon unit, R Lines Racing, and I'm actually very impressed. It was, I think, around like $80 for a 16 row. $60, $80. And I'll tell you what, it's definitely a nice, high quality one. It's not some junky piece of crap. And there's not a single person that gave it a bad rating. So, I'd like to show you guys the aero catch. Let me just set the phone down so I can. Yeah, that's good. Let me just set the phone on and then destroy the phone. And the other thing is I'll have to take the hood holder and put it on there. And so the aero catch, for those of you that don't know, these aero catches use a slide pin, but the nice thing about these aero catches is the way they lock, and there's no hood pin arm hanging out or anything like that. So right now this looks like a big gap, but that's only because the rubber seal is not in there. But there you go. Now, I didn't actually put silicone underneath these at this point, and yeah, they're locking. So, but I like the look of the aero catches. The other company that's really good that they have out there is Quick Latch. But the ones that had like an equivalent ability to hold, like with a lock or something like that, they were like $300. And I just don't think that hood pins are worth $300. That's just me. That's how I feel about it. Let me see. There's the Comp twin disc clutch. I'm waiting on the hydraulic throwout. Man, guys, obviously for some of you that do know me, they know that the head's ported, polished. It's boost line rods, JE Ultra 86.5mm pistons, sleeve block from Remy Racing. Let me see, Fk8 valve train. So I got a new super core for the blown turbo, the G25 660. But I have something else on the way, but I'm not going to spill the beans at this point. I will do that another day. It's something special, and I got to see after this is in the car how well it's going to fit. Damn, guys, I think that's just about everything that I've covered that. You know, and originally, and this is the funny part, this just kind of snowballed because it was supposed to be a CSS block and slap it back together, and that was it. And no extra oil cooler, no radiator support moving. I don't know, it just somehow snowballed. I was sitting here waiting for months and months and months for the sleeve motor to come back. It's O-ringed, head studs, damn, guys, I like it. Just the list goes on. Any and everything that I could do to make this motor not only handle power but survive big power. So, I mean, the only thing I didn't do was the Fk8 rocker upgrades. That is the only thing that I know of that could be done with the extra spring kit, but that's like a $2,500 kit, and $1,100 with a couple $100 in bronze valve guides versus double the cost. I was like, you know, that's okay, man, because right now I'm staying on Honda, so I'm not going to rev past 8,000 RPM. That's it. And I got a cheap, I know I got a cheap, ugly ass Fram filter on here, but I'm actually literally just doing that so that when I prime the block, and oh, that's what I wanted to mention. So I have this tool that we normally use on LS motors. And basically what it is we take, there's a NPT oil port, and basically, and it's behind the alternator, and there's a pressurized canister, and we use a 4AN line to pressurize the motor before it's ever even rotated or turned over. It's just one of those things, the LS. And I did it with this motor, and one of the reasons I had the cams in, but this is the funky part where it got me. I was doing, everything was fine, and then I had oil coming out like what would have been right behind here. And I had the valve cover off because I wanted to see the oil come up through the cams. And obviously you can see the oil made it up to here. This motor's never been turned over. I didn't fill it from there. I only filled a few quarts in from there. And I thought, I was like, well, damn, man, I must have screwed up because, and the silicone must not be sealing. When I was looking at it, all I saw was this section right here, in here, puking. But I didn't know that this groove was here. I couldn't see it because when it was bolted down, and I didn't know this was actually a release. And it just seemed odd that they would do it right next to, you see, this is where the valve cover would seat. They would do it right here, and it would like pool right here, and then just kind of fall down into the head from there. And so that left me for concern that, oh, well, crap, man, it must not have sealed. And I didn't want to put it back together and have it puking oil all over the place. But no, there was nothing wrong with it. And what it is there's an oil galley that fills here. And basically, the two pieces, this high pressure pump setup gets put on here. And there's a little hole in there. See that hole, guys? It's tiny by the second ring on the bottom. Okay? That is actually an oil feed. And what that does is that feeds the actual lifter, I don't say lifter, but more like a follower, sorry, a cam follower that goes underneath the high pressure pump. So the pump goes on there, and then the cam follower gets fed oil through that little port. And then what it does is it ends up overfilling this area because it comes in so fast, and it also feeds the vacuum pump. The vacuum pump gets oil from that, and there's a bracket that goes on here, and here's where the vacuum pump gets oil, and the oil has to come back out and go somewhere. And I was just surprised because it looked like a considerable amount, but the oil in this motor goes like everywhere. Like, you really be surprised, and that's one of the reasons that it has 6 quarts. So yeah, so I thought I screwed up, but I really didn't screw up. So yeah, it is what it is. You know, what are you gonna do? And let me see. So one other thing I should mention, this is where your PCV is, and the reason I'm saying this is because a couple guys catch cans filling up too fast, or they're getting a bunch of carbon on the valves, and basically when this PCV, if you put too much boost pressure, because this goes to the catch can on mine, but normally this goes straight to the intake manifold and sees boost pressure. Well, this has a check valve inside, and when that check valve inside blows out, it blows the valve cover gaskets out, or if you have a catch can, it keeps filling the catch can. Not exactly fun stuff. Now, I know you can't see there that maybe, see if you can see down in there. Let's see if you can see the port job, and can't really see well, you can, if you know what a stock head looks like. So, but yeah, ported, polished, spent quite a bit of time on that. So that's it, guys. That covers everything. And some people want to argue that you have to use ultra flange or that's no good. That's not true. The service manual actually says that a liquid sealant, and they give you the part numbers, and they give you Hondabond, ultra flange regular, and ultra flange 2. So all 3 of those are acceptable on the Fk8. That's everything that I can think of, and I hope that's helpful for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and soon, man, so soon, just soon, it'll be back together, get the motor broken in, and for those of you that don't know, when you get your motor broken in, do not fill it with synthetic. Why? Because the rings need to seat, guys. There's a reason that they don't use synthetic oil. I went to Driven, I contacted Driven and asked them about what to use. And on the phone we discussed, based upon my bearing clearances and stuff that I had chosen, to use SAE 30 for break-in oil. Straight 30 weight. Now, the reason we're using straight 30 weight, because any oil that says like 5W30, or 0W30, or 5W50, if it has that number in front of it, that means that it has additives in it that actually create that thinner effect of the oil when it's colder than straight 30 weight. So one of the things is, and if you guys see here, it says improves ring seal and high zinc content. So when what you're doing is, if you put a synthetic in, it's too slippery, okay? Then the rings don't seat to the cylinder wall, and then the actual compression, all that stuff, it rolls over those grooves in the cylinder wall, and the rings never get a chance to seat against the cylinder wall, and you don't get as much sealed compression. You get a motor that smokes and all that other stuff. So that's just a little something. And basically, the reason I prime the motor instead of just, I should have mentioned this earlier, instead of just cranking it to get the oil going, is because I sleeve the block, and when you sleeve a block, no matter what you do, there's trash in it. You could power wash it for 7 hours straight. There's going to be debris in there. So what I actually did was, I'm actually doing is pumping oil through the galleys, all right? And I'm going to use the regular SAE 30 weight oil that I bought from AutoZone, pump that through the motor, right? Dump that out, and then put my break-in oil in for the actual install of the motor. That is every damn thing under the sun, and that's quite a bit of stuff. So that's the update on the build. Any questions, hit me up, and I'm sorry if I haven't answered any questions lately. I've been really busy, and I've just had a hard time keeping up with some family stuff going on and work, and just been busy. Thanks again for tuning in. Hit the like, to subscribe, and keep it real, guys. Share the information. Don't hide it.